course, lots going on. One of the battles for which actually there is a prize is the Masters. And there's a bunch of Masters. I'm not sure what our definition is right now, kind of more than 45 or 50. Well, here's two guys in front of me here to talk to me who are well the other side of 45 or 50. John Winning, father of the fleet in so many ways. All of us dead of gratitude to you for making this happen every single year. And also Harry Hamlin, who you must be the most travelled skiff sailor on the planet. Put it over the years. Also twice winner of this series, the JJ Goltman. Not that long ago, about 10 years ago, wasn't it? I think your last win.
Like that, yeah.
Not that long ago at all. But you're back again for another crack at it. You two guys, you've got a trophy up for grabs between you. I was saying on commentary, I'd like to say that you're kind of arch enemies, but it looks to me like you're quite good friends.
We are.
I believe there's about 4 and maybe 3 points between you before discards, but I'm not sure how the discards work it out. There's a proper battle going on here, isn't there? Harry, are you going to get the better of this old timer?
Well, I don't know. You know, Woody's got the upper hand on me. He sails here all the time and sails more.
My uncle was driving that ferry that sorted him today, I think.
Plenty of favours you can call in there. Now, look,
Not too many, but the ferry certainly dusted him up, and that's what got us through. So.
well, look, this fleet, from everywhere you look at it, is kind of a young man's game. Big physical boats, clearly. They're tough boats to sail. Even launching the things is hard enough, for goodness sake. Why on earth do you guys, both of you, Harry, you first of all, why on earth do you choose to come all the way down to Sydney and sail one of these beasts of a boat, and you keep coming back for more punishment? What's going on?
Well, they're the greatest boats in the world, and Sydney Harbour's the greatest place in the world to sail them. You know, they're just well, maybe San Francisco's pretty good too, but yeah, they're just
warmer here.
A bit warmer. They're just fantastic. It's just unbelievable. The teamwork, the coordination, the effort to put it together. But it's a young man's boat in the front, and then in the back, the age doesn't matter. You know, I'm as good as I've ever been.
Interesting, yeah, and
Not what your wife told me.
yeah. But so in terms of that, the crew choice for you then, for everyone, but maybe even more so for the older helms, particularly important to get that right mix of energy, of dynamics, of experience, etc. Your two crew, tell me a little bit about them and why have you chosen them?
Well, I'm really lucky. I mean, I've got some really young talent in the front. Nick Catley, who's just super, absolutely fantastic, super strong, fast, quick. You know, sails all kinds of boats all the time. And Mike Martin, who I've sailed with for 20 years, you know. So, those are the guys that make us look good. Driving the boats is the easy part.
And of all the bits of driving the boat that's easy, which is the bit that's maybe less easy? Obviously, it's not that straightforward. You're being very modest about it. These are tough boats to sail. But what's the hardest part? What do you find? What do you think is the hardest part of skiff sailing?
Oh, boy, that's a good question. I mean, there's certainly the boat handling maneuvers. Every tack, every jibe, every barrelway is slightly different. And there's no substitute for experience there, you know, just to be able to get it away and all that. But it's still a three-man boat, you know. I'm only a third of it.
I mean, certainly in the light airs we saw a few days ago, in some ways the very light airs looks even harder than the breezy stuff. They know the boat handling, the kinetics, keeping these things rolling. There's a world of skill, probably a skill that you'll never really master.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you never master it, and you're always trying to get better. That's the fun of it, though. That's what makes it so fantastic.
You do look like fun. And John Winning, you've been playing this game for many, many years. Just talk me through, what are the last 10 years? What do you see as what's the differences? What's changed in the fleet for the better or the worse?
Well, the depth in the fleet is the biggest thing over the last 10 or 15 years. When I used to sail them years ago, if you're out of the top 5, you thought you were really going bad. Whereas now, you 15, 16, 18 or 20, you're battling with the blokes behind you, and there's plenty of good blokes there that might have been in the top 5 or 6 the day before. You know, the start's pretty critical. Well, it's critical in anything, but it's really critical in these, because if you're not in it round the first mark, you're really up against it.
We talk about that on commentary, but from your perspective,
there's only 3 blokes who can be first, second, and third round the first mark. So
yeah, but why? Why in a skiff? Why particularly in a skiff does it seem that a poor start means just a horrible afternoon?
Well, I guess because you're swinging wide, and the wind shadows, they're big rigs. It's a big wind shadow. The boats can't sail in as close a company as other boats. If you're in an Etchells or maybe a 5, they will sail in closer company, whereas these, they have to just spread out. So just naturally, the fleet just spreads out. There's just not the room for them to be there. So around the marks, they're bigger, they're wider. When you dip someone, these things are 40 foot long.
So 20, 30 years of skiff racing, that's about what you've done, isn't it? It's about your career?
40, yeah.
Okay, 40, sorry. That's very, I didn't want to say 40. 40 years, you heard it from John. 40 years. What have you learned about starting? What's the single most important thing? Tell everyone who's watching, a big audience watching live.
Very good at it.
Not as good as you want to be. What is the thing that you keep saying to yourself? What do you have to do?
well, you got to try and win the start. Well, I say I'm not very good at it. That's my biggest downfall in sailing is starting. Always has been. I don't know whether I'm not a big enough burglar or what, but they're just hard. And these things are hard because you can be looking terrific, and someone locks up with you to live, and that's the end of you. So you just try to keep your nose clean, but it's not always possible.
And this week, a little bit different. Black flags, Harry. We haven't seen them. You don't see them in many forms of sailing. We've actually had 2. Were you surprised today that it was only the second start when the starter decided to show us that black rectangle?
No, it didn't really surprise me, because we were all pushing the line, and you have to. Look at the other day, we got black flagged, and I asked the starter later, and he said we were only over by a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds. And so that's what you got to do to be there.
You felt the price of a black flag, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, well, we did, yeah. I mean, DSQ'd.
No, very unforgiving. Hey, look, both of you, great sailing this week.
People behave themselves a little more. I mean, there's out there, some of those starts are early, and blokes are pulling on with 10 seconds. I mean, 10 seconds to go, they're over the line and gone, and they just drag everyone with them. But you run the risk if you don't go with them, and they don't pull it up, then you're a goal.
No question, you have to do it.
Behind the 8 ball already, because they just start dragging on over you and they're gone, and every now and then they let one go or whatever.
You've got to go with it when that happens, for sure. Thank you for both of you for the time today. I know you're busy to go back to your rigging boat. Had a great performance from both of you so far. Still fully competitive. The battle between you two, it's going all the way, isn't it? We've got 2 more race days to finalise that particular battle. We're going to keep our eyes on it, and hopefully we'll come back and talk to you close of play Sunday. But thanks so much for talking to us today.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks, John. Winning. Bit of time from those 2 pretty special members of our fleet, and I think you can see from the results, you see them on the race course, they are not here for old time's sake, making up the numbers. They're both fully in this regatta. Top boats, top crews, top guys.
Yeah, just waking up in the morning and to be well, quite honest.